Aloha. So, when playing a nylon string, we generally don't play with a plectrum pick, but you can. So one of the things we work on are the rhythm styles. The way I do it in the beginning is I just put my fingers over the top of here, not pressing down, but just like holding it. Since you have an instrument with 3 strings, I'm gonna omit the G string here, and I'm just gonna be playing this string, and this string. The idea is, if you could just do this in the beginning, just 3 strings. Again, you don't really need the pick going out this way. You can if you're going to be hitting notes and making solo notes or melody notes, but I'd suggest playing and putting the flat end, pointing back towards you and using the flat curve here. It makes it easier to do this thing called rake picking, which is essentially what we're looking to establish here. Notice how my hand is kind of doing like this number. I view it as having like a figure 8 here, or an infinity sign, that my hand is just going and circling those loops, loop-de-loop-de-loop, over and over, just not as over-defined. About this fast is good to feel how loose the pick needs to be. If you hold it tight, notice one, it's real rigid going up and down. It doesn't flow like holding it at an angle, and it's way louder because you're giving it a little bit more pressure. So what we learn how to do is do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We can work on individual strums with 2 strings and then pick 1. Or we do all 3 and pick 1 and 1. Or we do all 3 and pick the middle note and just do 3 again. There are many ways to use the pick and do these rhythms, so when we put it with a chord, now these are ukulele chords, but your chords, which we're going to get into this in this explanation. After doing these rhythm exercises, like our 3 notes at a time, or 2 notes and then 1, 2 notes then 1, or upward strokes, 3 notes up and then 1. These just all make different rhythms for whatever you're choosing to do. One of the best ideas you can do is put a finger at the 1st fret or 2nd fret, if you're going to omit that 1st fret always, is we can play our 1st finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger. Now, there is a traditional rule of thumb for the Sanshin that has no 3rd finger movements, which makes sense because you have such large chords that it might not make sense to do your ring finger at all. You would just be moving around your middle finger and your pinky in correlation. From what I remember, if we have something like our D chord, it looked like this, and then if we wanted to switch our fingers, we could do that, which makes perfect sense. Our G would have a little extension with the G and the B there, and have the D right here. And then when we want to change this function, if we were to move this note over here to our lower note, you know, and then move this up, we would just have what we were talking about as an inversion. Just as a recap, when we have a triad of a 1, 3, 5, and we move the root note to any other position other than the root, the lowest note that you hear, it becomes an inversion of that chord. So this on the ukulele is a C major root position, because the C is the lowest note. When I do this, I have moved my fingers around, but it's still the lowest note of having a C has moved to E. So now I've got a C major 1st inversion. And when going up to this fret, playing this, I'm now covering the thickest string on the uk, the C, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, E sharp, F sharp, G. When I play this note, C major 2nd inversion. You won't have it unless you change one of your 1, 3, 5s for a 7th note or a whatnot. So what we're going to be having is a 3rd inversion based off the 7th of the chord. But we'll talk about that at a later time. I would love it if you would put a 1st finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger. Just do all downstrokes. You could do the same string over and over again, but I would suggest moving to the next string and then following through on all 3 strings. Remember, since you're not generally going to be playing that 1st string, you can even do something like this. This allows you to play all 4 notes of your fingerings in a row, and you're just going to be moving it up by half step. This should be brainless activity. This is just to get your fingers used to playing the distance of a minor second or a half step, and it gives you speed at the end of the day. Whenever you do downstrokes, the next thing you're going to want to do is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And I want to show you my picking hand, and this is what I'm going to leave you on for the mechanism of playing this individual notes. See, I'm just digging into that note just a tiny bit. That will eventually help you to understand the feeling getting down there. It builds calluses and it's a great tool, foundation. All right, and secondly, I would say pick any key signature. For this example, I'm just gonna pick the key of G. G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and F sharp diminished are the chords on the uke. You're going to find your G major, sorry, if I remember correctly, yeah, G major. You're going to take this and move it up and find your A minor, but you're going to move the note that makes it the major third. So you're going to need to find 1, 3, 5 and flatten that. Since you're moving up the fretboard from this G to an A and then to a B and then a C, it's a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. You will traverse all the way up the board, but you don't have to. Per your question, yeah, you can stay below the 7th fret and just form what you would call first position chords. And because the Sanshin is only the 3 strings, 2 of them which are octaves apart or perfect eighths, it's a little awkward seeing how these inversions and these chords actually fit together. So the onus is on you. Find the key of G, maybe pick the key of G major, the chord of D major, and the chord of E minor, and play those over and over again. Let me do the plectrum pick. This is going to be on your instrument, of course, but the picking of the nylon strings is going to be the same. Devise a little melody and go over that over and over and over again. If you want to change up the picking pattern, it is all based off of a downstroke, quarter, down up, which is an 8th note, or down up down, triplet, or down up, which is a 16th. Other than that, you'd just be making those slower or faster. So pick a chord, have fun with those, and then remember, you can always flip out one of those chords for the relative major minor. These chords were G major, D major, and E minor. So if I wanted to change it up, I could play E minor, B minor, and then play, what was the last one? E minor, G major? How about we throw an A major? Just to be a little bit different. Anyway, I really enjoyed seeing you today. I hope this helps in the foundation of music theory. If you have any questions, put it in the comment section, and we'll see you next week. Aloha.